Welcome back to The Edge. Hey, this is a Edge of the Web news flash. Headlines, there's no headlines this week. We're jumping into Google core algorithm updates and brand SERP updates we're experiencing right now, November 23rd, 2021, here on Edge of the Web Radio.
Here's a quick news break from Edge of the Web Radio.
Oh, it's official. I mean, honestly, it's official. That's our news break, audio and video. So it's a wonderful thing. This is Edge of the Web Radio. I'm your host, Erin Sparks from Site Strategics. Thanks for joining us as we roll out kind of a new format for the Edge. Should we call it EDGEFlash? Will that take? Yeah, EDGEFlash. Hashtag EDGEFlash? Probably not. There's too many shhs in there. All right, maybe we'll call that. Maybe we'll just try to get you the news as quickly as possible. When we see something happening, we want to jump in on it immediately with the top authorities to be able to help us out and make sense of everything that's happening here. So check out everything over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. But let's jump into the EDGEFlash here. Yeah, I'm going to keep on trying this as much as possible. Joining us on this EDGEFlash out of New York is Lily Ray, Senior Director, SEO and Head of Organic Research at Amsiv Digital, as well as out of Paris, France, Jason Barnard, the brand SERP guy. He's also the founder and CEO at Calicube. Thanks for joining us, both of you. Oh, look at that.
Thank you for having me.
It's very, very nice of you to jump in at almost a moment's notice. You both have been on the show for a bit here, and really do appreciate you jumping on and helping us explain what's really going on in this core algorithm plus brand SERP series of changes here. First and foremost, Google's actually always rolling through core algorithm changes. We've seen that. We've seen a lot more volatility this year than many years past. In fact, it was definitive that from, I think, Morty from SEMrush actually showed how volatile this year has been. But they just rolled out on the 18th and announced a November core algorithm update right before the big online holiday shopping season. The update seems to have stirred up a lot of conversations on multiple forums and discussion panels with worried website owners, especially the ones that were ready for the holiday season. So some of them are actually calling it a deal breaker. Check this out. Let's go over to the Twitter feed there. Barry Schwartz jumped in on the 17th, said, "Hey, John Mew and Danny Sullivan, I got to ask why during the busiest holiday shopping season, the rollout seems like it will happen during and right before. Previously, you guys have actually said you limit these updates before and during the season," and there's a series of responses there. And John Mew actually jumped in and said, "Well, I'm curious, would you prefer we just mention them afterwards or not at all? I realize there's an aspect of quote unquote never change anything, but good things go up with updates too. Not being snarky, honestly wondering what your thoughts are. Feel free to DM if you prefer." So he's literally, would you, I mean, think about it. Just thinking about John Mew's tone. I mean, he's so nice, but saying, would you rather us not tell you what's going on? Well, we want to know about it. We want to know why. So, Lily, first off bat here, what are your thoughts about this rollout? Is this something to be watching even more closely compared to other algorithm rollouts? I know it's way too early to tell. It just came out this weekend. But what are your thoughts about what's happening right now?
I think it's tricky with the holiday season in general because there's never really a great time to launch core updates. For some clients and sites that we work on, it's like we're all waiting every day for the next core update because in many cases you can't see big recoveries with traffic and visibility until another update rolls out for certain affected clients. So for some of our clients, it's actually really exciting, but I totally get the like hesitation in the SEO industry because of course we're heading into Black Friday and Cyber Monday and everything. So it's just another curveball to deal with.
No, it absolutely is. And we've actually learned from these core updates over time, we really can't do much with them. You can't be hyper reactive because you literally don't know what's happening. And on top of that, what the reversals are going to be 2 weeks later. But the timing is truly concerning as people have been investing in their SEO for good 3 to 6 months prior for holiday season. And we're seeing some radical changes, some major volatility. Before I get to brand SERP here, Jason, let's throw a few volatility screens up on the screen. So for example, you got Rank Ranger there. You can see a high mark of volatility with several days of normalcy here, but that was a big change in Rank Ranger's SERP fluctuations. If you go to another one there, obviously SEMrush, 9.3 on the 10-point scale of volatility. This is one of the highest we've seen this year. And subsequently also looking at cognitive, they're also showing a huge spike in volatility. What's that, 76? Out of 100. So with these, all these volatility tools show, what do they show whenever we're seeing this type of reaction in these tools? We're seeing industries being represented with a good deal of fluctuation in not only the top 10, not only the top 20, but their collective rankings shifting, correct?
The way that these tools work is they're just tracking against whatever index of keywords they check rankings for every day. So when you see huge volatility, it's just that there's been a shakeup in terms of who's holding top positions for the keywords that they monitor.
Right.
What I'm doing right now, and what I do every time a core update rolls out, is that I try to pull from a batch of domains that tend to see a lot of fluctuations during these core updates, just to see if we can see anything on like the category level or trends that are affecting, like, for example, with this update, I'm seeing a lot of dictionary sites that have gained a lot of visibility. And when you see those types of like categorical shifts in visibility, I like to think sometimes like, okay, Google just decided that for this batch of keywords, dictionary results are maybe the better result than what they were showing before, which was maybe like news or something like that. So that could signal like a shift in Google's understanding of intent, for example, for a certain group of terms.
Absolutely. And this is why I also wanted to bring Jason on the show here, because as Lily is demonstrating regularly these competitive domains in a particular category, so we can get an idea of, is this a particular vertical? Jason's in the knowledge graph space more than anybody on the bloody planet, I think. And whenever we're looking at verticals inside of understanding of knowledge graph and entities for the dictionary websites about understanding topics and concepts, all of a sudden, all of them are actually starting to pop right now. We actually, we were talking about this beforehand, Jason. Let's go ahead and show your screen as it's in parallel to the volatility of knowledge graph changes. And we'll let you tee this up for us.
Right, yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard that comment about dictionaries, but that is incredibly interesting. It does make sense, as you just said, with the topicality and entities. But what we've been doing at Calicube is tracking knowledge graph updates. And you can see here at the bottom, we've got the updates that we see. And with the knowledge graph, it's incredibly clear when it updates, because there's massive shifts. It's 80% of all entities within our data set, which is about 4,500. 80% of them will change on a given day when there's an update. And you can see here, we have an update at the beginning, towards the end of October, during the calm period on the main core algorithm. And then the second one seems to precede that second peak. And then the 17th and 18th, and it might be a difference in time zone that makes this, is that we had a normal, in inverted commas, knowledge graph update on the same day as the Google core algorithm update, which has not happened before to such an extent, i.e. the last one and the only one I've found so far that really matches was in May, but it wasn't an announced core update. It was just volatility according to tools like SEMrush. And the really strange thing this time is 4 days later, we get another big update in the knowledge graph that we don't see in the core, which is incredibly curious because generally speaking, the knowledge graph will update every couple of weeks. And it won't update very quickly one after the other like that. So I'm incredibly curious. And the other thing is during this one in the middle around November the 12th, we've got a tiny update that we don't usually see a tiny update like that on its own. And the green line is the depth of the knowledge graph, which is the number of entities the knowledge graph API returns. And we've gone from 18 to 19. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but the depth of 18 has been static for about 2 years. And so that increase is actually, in my opinion, pretty significant from at least that perspective. So seeing the core algorithm update and announcement from Google map perfectly to a knowledge graph update is incredibly intriguing and completely new. And then if we look here over a longer period of time, you can see how stable that green line is with the number of entities. This is the Calicube platform, and we track each and every one of the updates to the knowledge graph. And so if you're doing entity optimization of any type, it's really good to know that, because that will tend to lead to volatility, especially in knowledge panels. And we have seen a lot of volatility in knowledge panels since that November the 18th update. Lots of subtitles changes. Bill Slawski's subtitles changed. A friend of mine called Yarg, his subtitle changed. Matt Arts too. Yep. Andrea Volpini from WordLift as well. We've seen a lot of these changes, and we saw also related entities changing that people also search for. So basically, that's a lot of kind of categorization and entity relationships and the depth of the knowledge graph that all appear to have changed all at the same time with this core update. And I mean, within Kalicube, just really quickly, we've got all of these different tools, and I dig through them all the time, trying to figure out what is going on, because we track not only the knowledge graph and multiple knowledge graph verticals, including books and scholar and so on and so forth, but we also track brand SERPs, which is what you were talking about earlier on, which is this idea of across different industries, what's happening. And we're tracking industries in terms of how does Google perceive the brand as an entity, and how does it represent the brand to that brand's audience when they Google the brand name. And that's incredibly insightful. One thing we've seen that I don't actually have any screenshots to show you is there was an 8% rise in the number of what I call rich elements, which are SERP features, basically. I'm calling them rich elements because it gives me more breadth of definition, so I can include anything I want in there. But an 8% jump after this update in terms of the number of rich elements in brand SERPs is pretty major as well. So what I'm seeing is a richer SERP with a shakeup of entities, and I would suspect that the richer SERP is actually more full of entities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I appreciate that unpacking, because there's the linkage right there, I think, Lily, with understanding how lift is actually being applied to these dictionaries and encyclopedias and these vast points of knowledge, and seeing that entities are also being understood to a much greater degree. I'll put one more screenshot on screen. If you can go to that Rank Ranger brand SERP, I selected a couple of key features from that, and this is from the knowledge panel pack here, and we're seeing knowledge panel through knowledge panel percentage visibility, as well as people also ask, and info. People also ask. If you see that jump right on the 18th, there is more visibility and more people also ask attributes now visible in SERPs to a sizable degree. And again, this is always a smart scale, right? But for a couple elements that are somewhat static, and the knowledge panel is not the exact factors that you're actually looking at, Jason. This is more of does the knowledge panel exist, but you're actually showing many more entities being visible. We're also seeing these entities kind of come through the people also ask visibility as well. So I just wanted to throw that one into the ring, that Google's sharing more of what it understands people are wanting to know, and it's also giving lift to a huge amount of dictionaries and sources of entity knowledge. I'll kind of put that summation together. So final words on what we're looking at here.
Could I just come in on the last screenshot you showed? It was people also search for rather than people also ask, and people also search for is the entity boxes underneath the knowledge panel.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I thought this was also people also. This is people also search for. You're absolutely right.
But that is clearly, as I said, with the depth of the knowledge graph, that's clearly more entities being understood, but more importantly, more confidence. The thing about Google, with entities at least, you have to remember, is that it's not only understanding the entities, it's having confidence in that understanding. And when it's not confident, like a child in a playground, it won't shout the information out. It will be a little bit nervous about it. And when it understands, it really wants to shove it in your face. So that particular graphic with that rise, I'll need to check that against my own Kalicube Pro database, but that's phenomenal. That's a major thing that I hadn't seen, and I'm suddenly terribly excited, and I want to get digging into the database.
All right.
What a geek.
Hey, we're all geeks here, and we love the data. And now we have these tools that can actually be so granular, we can now understand intent to a particular degree of these algorithm changes. Is this really, it's not a rank change, it's not a categorical change in any particular industry. This is Google saying it knows more about what you're searching for. It knows more about the entities that it's trying to learn about more and more, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that's like what I hope to look at when I'm analyzing the domain visibility changes at scale and category changes at scale, because a lot of the times people take things out of context when they say like, oh, this website gained or lost visibility, they did something wrong, they maybe it's their core web vitals or like whatever things SEOs like to focus on. But what I think people lose the bigger picture of is that, like, maybe even going into the holiday season, Google determined that for many keywords that generally return informational results, people want more transactional results because they're shopping. So you might see an increase in e-commerce sites ranking better for certain ambiguous queries that sometimes generate informational results, sometimes generate transactional. So it's like those intent shifts can change because of current events or because of like what's happening in the world. Like I've seen .gov sites that skyrocketed in visibility during some of the worst moments of COVID that have kind of moved down as actually a result of this update. Like the FDA and the CDC seem to be going down a little bit. Maybe that's because when you Google hand sanitizer now, you know, Amazon shows up #1 instead of the FDA, something like that. So those types of things can change as well. It doesn't mean that a site did anything right or wrong. It's just that Google's adjusting its algorithms to meet what users are looking for at that moment.
So it's very topical in nature. And we did, yeah, you're absolutely right. We talked about that during COVID, and it also impacted a lot of additional features in the SERP panel as well to be able to help individuals during that period of time. So it's finding its space based on timing that's incredibly needed right now. Yes, sir, Brett.
No, I love that analysis. It's absolutely perfect. I wish I'd thought of that. But from the timing point of view, one thing that I wanted to say that I noticed last year and the year before, but last year it was really obvious. The knowledge graph did not update at all in December and January. The last update was November, and the next one was in the middle of February. And the year before, it was very similar behavior. And I mean, obviously, the knowledge graph team takes a big, long holiday, December and January. So from that perspective, if they were marrying the knowledge graph into the core algorithm much more closely with this update, they wouldn't want to have done it during December and January when the knowledge graph traditionally sleeps.
Last point, Glenn Gabe posted in LinkedIn. He's seen a lot of reversals and corrections based on the June and July updates as well. So keep that in mind as we're talking about this. Is it's not only topical, it's not only we're seeing a reveal of understanding of a deeper understanding of entities and more entities, but we're also seeing, if you want to click on that graphic real quick while you're in LinkedIn, pop that one up, you can see that what was sometimes cataclysmic to some of these sites are getting a bit of a reprieve in the reversals, which we would expect around 2 to 3 weeks. There's some things happening right now that are coming through due to this algorithm change. Lily, have you seen any reversals happening?
Yeah, I mean, when I like look at this many domains, you can see all kinds of different patterns. And one thing that makes it difficult is like, you know, some of these sites are working really hard on recovering. Some of them haven't done anything. Some have broken things. And it's like, you can't always tell if it's the result of the work that you've done or if it's just something, again, like maybe Google changed its understanding of entities or intent or something. So there's so many different variables. It makes it very hard to understand exactly what happened. But as long as you're chipping away at the right things, then you should generally see positive impacts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I thank you both for coming on here. I got to cut you guys loose. You have a very busy schedule today. Any final words for the listener audience that have maybe one website or an agency? What should we caution them not to do right now?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's always the same advice. Start thinking about your brand and building your brand, and don't freak out, I think, today, because perhaps Google's shifted, as Lily said, with its understanding of intent. It's shifted, as far as we can see, in its understanding and its depth of understanding of entities. You obviously want to be understood as an entity, and that's the way you're going to need to go. But don't panic. It takes time to educate this child that is Google that wants to understand. Start now. And if SEO seemed slow before, this is likely to be a little bit slower still, so don't get frustrated.
Very good. Any final words of wisdom, Lily?
No, I'm still pulling all my data, and I am hoping to publish something this week. So stay tuned on the AMSIF digital blog. I'll hopefully have some winners, losers, and analysis out later this week.
Fantastic. Thank you both for coming on again at such short notice, and we'll certainly look at, I think, Jason, you're going to be coming up with something soon as well, a blog post, yeah?
Yeah,
I'm putting the pressure on now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've got a couple of blog posts I need to write, one of which is knowledge graph verticals, another of which is the sources that Google is looking at, how it's pulling information from the web, which sources it's using, human curated or automatically generated unstructured data pulled by algorithms. Phenomenally interesting. The unstructured data drawn by algorithms and this child making up its own mind is growing, and we can see it growing. And if you want to educate this child, I mean, I love this stuff, and I'm just having so much fun. And I would love to have more time to write articles, and I don't know how you do it, Lily, because you just write articles all the time. You must not sleep
all the time. Not a lot, not enough.
Not enough, but hey, it's great to be able to get together and be able to have some talks like this as well. Thank you both so much. We absolutely know that that child just learned a heck of a lot, evidently, from this update. So we will be watching it. And again, we want to make sure that you check out if you're interested in Calicube. It's Calicube, KALICUBE.com. And if you're interested in what Lily does, she's the senior director over at Amciv Digital. So they're great at what they do, and if you want to have some additional help in understanding what's going on with a potential hot mess that you may be experiencing, go contact these guys. They're fantastic. Thanks so much, guys, and I do appreciate it. All right, that's it for our Edge Flash. Hopefully you like what we're doing here, and we'll be dropping these every once in a while. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel as it gets updated regularly, and when we go live next. From all of us over at Edge, stay safe, stay well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.